You're holding your mum's hand and then someone just comes from behind you, slaps you, pushes you in the bushes, and your mum's screaming. What are your goals in life?
I want to get fit first, or I want to get strong first, or I want to, I have this, I want to get my bench to 120 first.
It's almost like saying, I need to be smart before I go to school.
Yeah.
Why do you go to school? To improve your intelligence, to become smarter. The companions were fighters through and through. Day in, day out. They were given to fighting. The Muslims were given to combat. That's what he said.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Cage Closed. We're back on the mats with your host Hamza
And Adam.
And we have a special guest with us today, Ustadh Nisar Shaikh. Ustadh, would you like to give everyone a little bit of background to who you are and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Nisar. In Jiu-jitsu, I got my black belt from Carlson Gracie London in 2014. Been honored to train with Wilson Jr., who's my instructor, alongside a lot of other people from Carlson Gracie London. I've been training now for over 18 years and teaching now for equally the same amount of time, really. I live in Hounslow, and I teach adults, children, on a regular basis, and I'm also honoured to be teaching here at Blackbeard MMA.
Yeah, as you can see, we are partnering together to kind of just make an impact in the community and just keep everyone fit, healthy, and just, jiu-jitsu is more about, it's not just about the physical skills, right? Like there's a mental aspect to jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely.
So what would you say is kind of like a mentality that you would like to see in your students when they approach jiu-jitsu or they're coming to the mats?
Yeah, I think when people think of, if you backtrack a little bit and think of MMA, there's already a mindset of bravado, I think, and it's just sad
100%.
because some of the most capable martial artists or mixed martial artists in the world are probably the most humble.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's the entertainment industry, it's the sports industry that really pumps them up, and you find that they exaggerate themselves a little bit. Press conferences go a bit wiry, the weigh-ins a bit crazy, and people are facing off and that type of thing. But in reality, if you speak to some of the greatest fighters in the world, they're the most humble, beautiful, refined individuals, and that's because of their art form. That you have to, by the nature of combat, if you engage it regularly, you have to humble yourself.
100%.
And for me, I think it's important that when people think of MMA and then they think of Jiu-Jitsu, because it's a subset of the main skill set that you must learn as part of your MMA training. You've got your striking, you've got your wrestling. The ground game, Jiu-Jitsu, is very important, is that you approach it in that same way. That you look upon it as not a way of just beating people up or submitting people, but also a way of refining yourself. And I think if people approached it in that way, they'd get a lot more out of it than just simply being able to choke someone on the mat.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think approaching it with kind of like more of an open mind to what can I learn from this session, rather to how many taps I can get in this session.
Absolutely.
100%.
I think that way you'd have happier sparring partners, and you probably get more out of your time on the mats as well.
Exactly, yeah. It's that learning process, and I think you can apply that to almost any endeavor, any type of proficiency you're looking to become. A teacher, a primary school teacher, a tennis coach, a carpenter. That if you approach it with a sense of humility, a sense of that you're really, you don't know an awful lot yet, and you're always seeking to improve yourself, you'll find that each training session, each class is a lot more fruitful. So I think that's.
So would you say maybe looking at not just in jiu-jitsu but in general in your life, looking at where you may have gone wrong or something that you have done that wasn't quite in line with your goal or your target, what you're trying to achieve, rather than maybe blaming others around you?
Absolutely. This is I think the very core problem with a lot of things we see in society, in the world at large. It's I, me, mine, me. It's a very selfish way of looking at things. For me, growing up, I'm a Muslim, born in Britain. Of minority ethnic origin. My parents are from India. there's a lot of things that, and I'm sure you guys can also, you can understand this, is that you face a lot of difficulties. And if you just have this kind of negative, blame the world type attitude, it doesn't take you very, very far.
Yeah, of course.
And I think this is what's important about how we approach self-improvement. A lot of people now, some of the most popular books in the bookstores are books on how to improve yourself, self-care, self-improvement, whatever it is. I think also it's important to think about ultimate goals. And I'm not talking about, getting the 22-inch bicep or, getting down to 5% body fat.
Yeah.
Higher goals. What are your goals in life? And for us as believers, inshallah, I think the goal is ultimately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how can we do that? And that really should be a thread in every endeavor that you do. It's not something like, okay, I'm in the mosque, I'm praying, so I'm focused on Allah and His Messenger sallallahu. Or, I'm at Jummah, or I'm reading Quran, I'm at an Islamic class. Everything that we do should drive us towards Allah. And that, if that's your goal, I mean, some people don't have that goal, which is fine as well. But for us, it's a higher purpose. And I think that's really where, for me, the martial arts can take you, if you have that intention.
So when you started your mixed martial arts journey, I'm assuming that you did start with BJJ as your base.
I didn't know. No.
way,
Interestingly, I was actually dabbled a little bit here and there. I actually came from more of a sporting background. I still am a little bit. I like to think I am. I played a lot of basketball. So I was on my school team, college team, uni team. I had these big aspirations of playing in the NBA. I wanted to be, I wanted to go NCAA and get a scholarship and go. Up until about 18, I was adamant I wouldn't go to university in this country. I didn't want to go. And but along that journey, I grew up in an area just outside Heathrow Airport, a place called Stanwell. And it was, for an ethnic minority, brown, coloured person, it wasn't a nice place. Regularly I'd be in fights, regularly I'd be bullied, faced a lot of racism. Some of you, I'm sure you can experience it, but a little older than yourselves.
I think nowadays it's not as bad. Yeah.
There are other challenges. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
now
definitely.
There are definitely other challenges, but then it was really in your face. You could be just standing at the bus stop, and the guy would just punch you in the face because you thought, who are you? I've had that several times, and you're holding your mum's hand, and then someone just comes from behind you, slaps you, pushes you in the bushes, and your mum's screaming. It's not a nice feeling, but that makes you. And that emboldens you, inshallah. That's the hope. And then through that you grow, and then you decide to take different routes. So that's kind of where my journey began as a young man in school, being bullied, then thinking of ways of defending myself. I actually did Wing Chun for a little bit as a kid. Then I went into boxing.
Did you see like the Ip Man movies?
Ip Man movies, yeah, man. Yeah, wicked.
Bruce Lee and that.
Bruce Lee, man. Definitely. Jet Li and Jackie Chan and
I think I'm sure like that's where a lot of for me as well, like that's where it started. Like my kind of love with martial arts started from these kind of old school movies, the Ip Mans, the Jackie Chans, the Donnie Yens.
That's it.
And you see what they're doing on screen, and you're like, oh, I want to do these things. I want to try it. And then you go into the gym. And some of those things don't necessarily translate directly.
Absolutely, that's the eye opener, isn't it? I remember back in college, my friends, these were back in the day of the VCD. So you never used to watch a movie; you'd get like someone to copy you some CDs, and you whack it into your CD-ROM, and you watch some movies like that. And you felt like you could watch a movie, and you're like, yeah, man.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
can do that.
My training.
Yeah, that's what I do. I've got 5 guys coming at me. I'm gonna whack this one, and back kick that one, and roundhouse, and then I'll deal with them. And then reality strikes.
Yeah.
And then you're outside the chip shop, and someone calls you a packy. And someone calls you, someone tells you to go back home where you come from, or you're wearing a kufi. I remember going into school and having a bit of a religious awakening. Feeling very proud of my Islam, and then being insulted for coming in. You just remember, back in the kind of 80s, late 90s, early 90s, and going into school with a kufi, and just feeling very proud about your Islam because everyone goes through that phase of discovery. and then just being mocked, being abused, and beaten up or going to fights over that. It's hard, it's really difficult, and actually for a lot of people it can push you away from that goal. Again, we're talking about religion, Islam for us, and imagine you feeling that way, and then all of a sudden you have to reconcile your faith, your belief with the outside world.
Yeah,
that's really hard for a young person, and I really feel it for young people now that they're having to do that at every level.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of attacks on Islam, and I'm not talking about bombs dropping on people's heads, which is also happening.
Propaganda.
Yeah, propaganda, and just a lot of people just skewing the view of Islam. So yeah, there's a lot of that stuff going on.
I think that's where it's important to do your own research, right? Don't just believe everything the media tells you, or
100%.
if someone tells you. I mean, even if someone you trust tells you something, you shouldn't take it at face value. Like, you should go back, do your own research.
Absolutely, yeah, really important. So just coming back to that point about like the trajectory of my kind of martial arts experience, it was very much embedded in reality. So you watch them Jet Li movies, and you see guy flying across the screen, and 100 kicks in the air, and then when you're outside that chip shop and the guy tells you whatever he's telling you, that sinking feeling, that horrible, nervous, adrenaline dump just goes through you, where your legs are fight or flight. You're there and you're facing it, and it's a reality, and your legs are shaking, your mouth is dry, and your stomach's going, oh, the last place you want to be is there. That's what I faced, and a lot of us face. And you then realize that all that stuff you watched was actually a waste. As in, it wasn't real. It's not reality.
Yeah.
So that's when I kind of slowly, I had to move away from that, because I had a lot of these experiences, and I kind of had to reevaluate, martial arts and training and what it meant. I used to do crazy stuff. Just I used to travel just to go to what I thought was the real deal.
Yeah.
And then you go and you find out that they're doing the same thing. I had one experience at a university. It was supposed to be jiu-jitsu, and the guy would say, punch me here. And so I just throw a jab at his face.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, no, not here, around here.
Yeah.
I said, mate, if I want to whack you, I'm going to whack you.
Yeah.
And he said, no, because I can't do the move then.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. And it was really like an eye-opener. Like, oh, grab me here. No, you're grabbing too hard.
Yeah.
I said, mate, if I grab you, I'm going to grab you. And
Yeah.
that's where I feel a lot of people are still a little bit blinkered as to their martial arts training and reality training. And this is why, although I don't, I've only had 2 semi-pro fights early on in my jiu-jitsu days of MMA. I love MMA for that reason. It's as real as it gets.
Yeah.
There's no hiding in that.
Yeah.
You can't, you can't fake a
People
jab.
get exposed quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful in that way, because it's haq, it's truth.
Yeah.
So what made you fall in love with the BJJ and just stick to it the whole time?
So for me, when I came into jiu-jitsu, it was that reality that I was looking for. I went everywhere. I kind of did boxing. I did Muay Thai, and I really enjoyed it. But it was difficult getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
Really hard. It wasn't something I liked. My nose is busted, and the eyes. I got kneed in the eye once. I cracked my orbital a little bit here, and it was really. I was at uni at that time, and your parents, your mum's looking at you like, what are you doing to yourself? And it wasn't a done thing. And then when I found my club, and this was back in 2002, there was something that was safe about it, but very real.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I mean, you guys train. Jiu-jitsu is rough. It's
It's
hard,
rough.
but there's something to it that you can continue doing it even in that roughness. And when I found it, and it was very powerful. It was very powerful in the way that you were able to control somebody, another human being, and manipulate them, almost at will. And that in itself became, very, very, satisfying.
Yeah.
But then there's a great spectrum of mastery. You're looking at that like, boy, I don't know anything yet. I'm a white belt. Okay, cool. I can tap my friends out. I can tap so and so out. What about this guy? What about that guy? The blue belt, the purple belt, the brown. And knowledge. And this is where I think a lot of us, particularly Muslims who are very aware of knowledge, they see that spectrum of knowledge that, you've got the fundamentals, then you've got the intermediate level, and you progress through. That's what really captured me. And then the last thing that captured me was really what it did to myself internally. How I felt about myself. Not only from a point of confidence, but also from a point of what it revealed about me. Yeah, I remember thinking, after I won my first tournament, yeah, man, I'm the man. I was on cloud 9, and I didn't even really win it. I got to the finals, and I lost by points in the last. I got a silver medal, whatever. And then I was packing my bags, put my gi back in and whatever, and I just looked over, and he's actually my friend, Polish Adam, and he was my nemesis in the gym. But outside we were friends, just whatever. Yeah. And I looked at him, and I was like, as I put my gi in my bag, I looked at him, and I thought, mate, I've got to face you tomorrow again.
Yeah.
And again, and again, and again. And it was just daunting. And I was like, this is, subhanAllah, such a beautiful thing, because it forced me to look at my ego. It forced me to look at myself every single time I stepped on the mat. And that's what I think, there are very few arts that can do that, where you're subjected, if you're not having a good day, it's clear on the mat. You can't fake it.
You can't fake it.
You can't fake it. So that's what's really, really powerful, and that's what then made me kind of addicted a little bit to it.
Yeah. But martial arts, it does have that kind of like an addictive nature to it, right? Because it's every day you learn something new, not just about yourself, but about your opponents. You can constantly get better, and it's not necessarily like you need to remember. So if you've learned 100 things, you don't need to remember those 100 things. You remember the 20 things that you're really good at, and you implement those, and then you can kind of feed off that as well. So it's quite encompassing, the toolkit that it can give you as well.
Very, very powerful. I mean, aside from the psychological tools that it gives you, the confidence that you gain, the self-esteem, determination, the resolve that you build, the physical tools, like your body starts to change, and you really know what fitness really is. Some people are like, they're huffing and puffing going up down, some stairs, and they think they're fit because they've been in the gym or whatever.
It's really scary, actually.
I actually had a question regarding that. So there's a lot of people that want to start jiu-jitsu, for example, but they always say stuff like, for example, these are some of the stuff that I've heard, that I want to get fit first, or I want to get strong first, or I want to, I have this, I want to get my bench to 120 first, my squat to 220, and then I'll start jiu-jitsu. So what would you say to these individuals that they may have the intention of starting, but maybe they've got the wrong idea in their head of what they need to do to get there?
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, and you can liken it to the analogy of school. Is that it's almost like saying, I need to be smart before I go to school.
Yeah.
Why do you go to school? To improve your intelligence, to become smarter. So in actual fact, just doing jiu-jitsu will make you fitter, stronger, faster, better. So don't, my advice is to everybody is just don't hesitate. Don't, unless you've got some really acute, medical conditions that, you struggle walking. Yeah, that's fine. Then I understand. You've got some acute, some people have some really acute health conditions where their joints do not allow them to, get out of bed properly. That's a different story. But by and large, most people are pretty fit. They're okay, inshallah, right? So I think we should never make that excuse in any martial art. I'm not saying jiu-jitsu specifically, but any martial art, any physical endeavor, that by doing that, you enable yourself by becoming fitter.
Because you're in the situation where you think you know something about something that you have no idea about.
Yeah, you're making a big assumption on that. Yeah,
so you're training for something that you have no idea what it's actually like.
Absolutely, yeah. Like what like you just talk about bench and squat. Yeah, bro, man, get to 200 kg squat. I'll do. So you're telling me that you think that squat's going to help you now on the mats? You're equating yourself. Then it's a slight arrogance on some people's part where they think they understand what it actually takes when it's to be on the mat, or to have like a type of currency on the mat. There's nothing like being on the mat.
So have you ever had it where someone's come and say, they've come off the streets, for example, and they've challenged you in your gym or in your class, or any kind of situation like that? Yeah,
in the early days, I actually had some interesting people come to me, and they were kind of like friends. They were work colleagues. So I used to work at Boots, T1 airside. Let people know, mashallah. Yeah, man, humble beginnings. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, man, £6.36 an hour. It was good. And a lot of my work colleagues, they could see, I started developing these cauliflower ears, and I'd come in with scratches and bruises and sore, and just generally just beat up. And they're like, "What are you doing, man? What's this jiu-jitsu rubbish about?" I said, "No, you got to try it." And I do my best to encourage them, because I don't also like challenge. There's this challenging, debating culture that I find really detestable, especially amongst Muslims. I really, it's just really crass. I don't like that kind of attitude. So I'd always encourage like my friends, my work colleagues, no, you should try it. Just see it. It's like this. It's like this. And I remember being in the hallway, just trying to show them a few moves, and they're just like, man, I just do that. Man, I just do that. And I said, okay, cool. And then I had 2 guys. They were from Shotokan Karate, and they were pretty good. They were very good at striking. And I said, no, I just whack you here and punch you this, and man, I got a high kick that will really just take your head off. I said, cool. I said, I acknowledge their skill. So I said, why don't you come to the gym?
Yeah.
So I remember when I was training at Royal Oak, this is where Carlson's used to be at Royal Oak. I said, come to the gym. And they came. And when they came, I gave them a lot of credit because I've had it all. Everyone, challenging your friends. Yeah, I'll be there. They came. And I said, look, I'm not going to punch you. I'll just slap you. Yeah. But you can punch me. Just put these gloves on. I said, I don't want to, go on with bare knuckle, punches to the face. I said, you can put these gloves on. These are MMA gloves.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, cool. And then when they felt, I could see they were stand off and they were ready, and they said, oh, this guy's for real.
Yeah.
So I had it, and then, straight away, very classic. If you look at the early UFCs, very classic. I was defending. I didn't know a great deal of stand-up, honestly. But I could thwart a lot of their strikes and defend and block and whatever. I threw a few slaps, and that woke them up. Because even in striking, you guys will appreciate this, is that if you've never been hit, you really don't know what striking is.
Yeah.
I remember doing Wing Chun, and guys would say, I'll do this, and I sticky hands, and I move like this. And, just slap them. And that just wakes
everyone's
up.
got a plan till they get hit.
Yeah, till they get hit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of exactly what happened with this guy. Even that slap rocked him. He's like, whoa, double leg, took him down, mounted him, and I just smothered him.
Bit of Nate Diaz.
Make him feel uncomfortable.
You're giving away your game plan too much now.
That's it, man. That's all I can do. Man. That's all I can lay claim to, smothering people. But that's it. And then we did it again, and he couldn't believe it. And it's just like, and then he just gave up out of exhaustion. And then, what was sad of all of that is that he didn't take up jiu-jitsu. He didn't take it to it because for some people it
Someone has the ego sometimes.
It's a bitter pill for people to swallow. So
sometimes you could say that people are a bit fearful as well. Like they don't want to go through that meat grinder of being humbled every day and realizing that they're not.
This is the exact point. You guys remember recently some of our instructors here, mashallah, has just been graded to purple belt. And there's some statistic going around that, actually, purple belt's one of the hardest belts you can get. 1 in 10,000 people who do jiu-jitsu acquire it. And it's for this reason, this, meat grinder, this, putting yourself
showing
through,
up every day,
that actually turns people away from it. And it's hard. It's not easy. It's not, It's not
because jiu-jitsu would become part of your lifestyle then, isn't it? It's not just something that you can take up. Oh no, I mean it is something you can take up for like a hobby and stuff like that. But it is something that there is a progression, right? And to get that progression, time needs to be put in as well.
Absolutely. And there has to be an acknowledgement of on your part that there are some lifestyle choices that I'll have to make if I want to continue. If you're smoking 20 a day. If you're on the weed, if you're on whatever you're on, man, and you expect to come here and do justice to the mats will humble you. Don't think you can rock up.
I think that's an issue that we have in our current society, in our culture as well. Especially like with our ethnic minority as well. A lot of Pakistani boys and stuff like that, and just Asian boys in general. It's not just Pakistanis and Asians, but a lot of people. They'll get into this kind of misconception of they've got 5-6 boys around them, and these guys are hyping each other up.
They think they're untouchable.
Thinking they're untouchable, and they're carrying something they shouldn't be carrying, and they're doing things that for example, like you said, the smoking, the drinking, or whatever, and they kind of get into this false sense of I'm something that they're not really. So sometimes, what would you say to these kind of individuals that will help? Give them that, because they're looking for something, right? They're looking for a level of power or control. Are they going to get it doing those things, or are they going to get it doing?
I think we can all agree that the slippery slope of drugs and alcohol will take you nowhere, but very quickly to your grave. Very recently, one of my family members was just released out of prison, young individual. And got caught up in the same lifestyle, and is regretting it now. Really bad. And my message to anybody who's engaged in that type of thing is just look at your life, look at those who are around you, and if you don't have anyone around you, just look at yourself. That Allah, God, has put in you a greatness, a great potential. You know, you are the best of God's creation, and you should really reflect on that. You know, Allah says that we have raised you. You know, Allah has raised Bani Adam, and that's not just Muslims. He's raised the children of Adam. Yeah, and that's very, very important. We must take that seriously. Don't whittle your life away in these things. And then when you can see slowly the progression, your potential, and you engage in these arts, and then you know reality. You know, you know really who you are. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, you're going on, you're egging each other on, and you think you're the man, and then all of a sudden you just get slapped, or you get really, really badly hurt by someone who knows what they're doing. It's a rude awakening, and it destroys people inside.
Yeah.
You know, like you get caught up, and then you don't have your boys with you.
Yeah.
When you go and they lock you up, man, you're not locked up with your mates. Yeah. All that stuff
That's
goes.
how your friends
And how
move
many of
on,
those
get
friends-
married.
yeah.
You know,
they're not
they
your
live
friends.
on
Man.
it. Yeah.
Don't, they're not your friends.
They're only there for the good times.
Yeah, so they're just there for fun. You know, they want to see action. They want to see drama. So you know, don't get it twisted. Don't think you know, these are my mates or they're my brothers. They're not. Okay, people who care about you will tell you things that you actually don't want to hear, and they'll actually, they want you to improve, and that's not a nice thing to hear all the time, because they want you to change your lifestyle. But yeah, definitely, you know, it's just reality strikes. That's all I can say, is that when you really see life for what it truly is, and then you get presented with it, you have to make that change. Okay, so the young people generally, and I was like, I'm not precluding myself from this, but when you're young, you think you know it all. You're walking around like, yeah, man, I can do this, I can do that. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, I can, And it's only as you go older that you thought, Subhanallah, Allah protected me from that situation, from this situation, from that person, from these circumstances, and you should just be grateful for that. And if He hasn't, He's tested you, and that again is a beautiful thing. Allah does, Allah loves His creation. Allah loves those who turn to Him. And in fact, sometimes when people kind of question, oh, what happened to me, man? Oh, I'm behind these bars, man. 15 years they gave me. Or bro, I just come out and I've got no job, dead end. I've got no prospects whatsoever. This is actually a test from Allah positively to draw you closer to Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you realize that, you think, whoa, Allah's He's putting me in a circumstance where maybe I can't leave the home, maybe I'm on tag, maybe I got curfew at 7 o'clock and I can't, and He's calling me to Him. So it's it's a win-win in that way.
Yeah, like they say, you might be given everything, but it might take you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, It might be a worse situation than you think by having everything.
Absolutely.
So, even sometimes, when stuff get taken away from you, it's a blessing.
It's a blessing, man.
Yeah, look for the positives in every situation.
Man.
And that way you'll always you'll always be happy with where you are and where you're heading. And I would say also not to kind of think too much about where you are and try and plan too much, because people, they want to plan every aspect of their life. In the next week I'm going to do this, next month I'm going to do that.
You don't know what's coming tomorrow.
Yeah, but then stuff just starts coming in your way, and your whole plan has gone down the gutter, and you're just
Tulul amal. Having lengthy hopes is a disease of the heart. Allah reminds us, the scholars have reminded us that we shouldn't even think that we are going to live from one salam to the next. Yani, you're in salah. When you end your prayer, how do you end your prayer? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Don't even think that your life will be that long that between the two salams Allah doesn't take you. So it's really important for all of us. I mean, I'm making plans. I want to go on holiday. I want to chill out. Next year I want to get this belt, and I want to, I want to fight, and I want to cut my weight, and we do all these kind of plans.
100%.
You're right.
But I think just doing what's in front of you every day, and then the doors themselves will open. Right? If you're not doing anything every day, then nothing's going to come your way, right? But if you're doing a little bit every day, that's working towards what you may have like an overall overarching goal, then doing what's in front of you in that day is going to help you, is going to lead to that eventually. And you probably felt that in your kind of progression through the belts, right? Like, for example, which belt would you say was the hardest one for you to overcome?
Actually, I never looked at the belt. It was really interesting. in as much as I say jiu-jitsu is not easy,
Mhm.
when people ask me about, how long did it take you to get your belt and your black belt, and was it hard? It actually wasn't hard in that sense because I loved it.
Yeah.
And this is what I think what people tend to forget when they're pursuing something is that actually if you enjoy what you do, there's only pleasure in it every single way. So
yeah.
I never had this thing of, brown belt, man, I just want to get the brown belt. Oh, it's taking me so much. No, I was
You
like,
should enjoy the
yeah,
journey.
man, I was a blue belt for 5 years. You know,
Yeah.
it didn't, you know, I learned right from white belt. I remember I was at my last tournament as a white belt. I was in Brixton. And I was going against one of my Japanese friends. You know, back in those days, you end up having to fight people in your own club because there wasn't that many people to spar or whatever. Masao, if you're out there, man, Masao, it was you. You know, solid, really amazing guy from Japan. He fought in Shuto. He had a fight in Pride.
Wow,
Interesting guy. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So what happened was that I was in that competition, and you know, I lost to him in the finals on points and whatever. We got the medal, and I just thought to myself that, and one of my friends, dear friend of mine, he's actually a black belt now, Austin Gardner. He goes, "Nis, man, you're blue now. You're blue." And I just thought about that, and I said, I don't want the blue belt.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because like I was afraid of getting it. I just enjoyed the journey, and I also knew that at every belt there's a weight, there's a responsibility that comes with that. You know what I mean? And it's needed. This is one of the unique things of jiu-jitsu is that when you see that progress, and people, there are some people who are flip side, and they call them sandbaggers. In jiu-jitsu, you know, vernacular. They say, "Oh, you're a sandbagger. You know, you should be a purple now. And you're just holding on to that blue, or the instructor's holding you back because he wants you to win tournaments and whatever." Progression in jiu-jitsu helps progression of self. So, you know, Adam, when you get your blue belt pretty soon, there's going to be a different there's going to be a different type of pressure, because you can't just rock up and like claim no knowledge. You're a blue belt now. You know what I mean? And there's an expectation that comes with that.
A responsibility to it's not a responsibility to tap over all the white belts,
but it's
to
like
support.
Support your teammates and stuff.
Help them understand there's a requisite knowledge of how you conduct yourself, how you can help others. You know what I mean? If a fresh guy, white belt, comes through the door and he's paired up with you, do you just mull him every single time? Or you know, he doesn't know how to hip escape or move his arm? What are you going to do to him? Just, you know, not tell him? Everyone, you know, you have that kind of responsibility. So that's very helpful in the way that you progress, in the way you look at progression as well. So just coming back kind of to that point about, you know, which was, you know, hardest belt, they were all hard and all easy in one way. Hard because it was a struggle. Again, 5 years at blue belt. You know, I was there, and then again I got my purple, and then I was like, you know, brown belt. I was, I think maybe, probably about 4 years at purple, brown belt. I have quite a few injuries. You know, I've had 6 surgeries. You know, 3 of them, they happened in very quick succession. I have a neurological condition that I still have to manage now. Very, very painful in my face. It kind of prevents me from doing too much training. It's really hard to train every single day because of this condition. You know, I'd love to, but it actually hinders my personal life. You know, family, work. You know, all these things. So they have an impact. So I remember when I was a brown belt, and then we had my second son. This nerve thing. It's called trigeminal neuralgia, and the nickname for it is called suicide's disease. It's excruciating stabbing pain in the face, and it can come at any time, unpredictable. So even sometimes, you know, brushing my teeth, washing my face, the wind would blow and it create this pain in my face. And it was a real eye-opener for me and a challenge for me, because there I was, purple belt, having my way. You know, I wasn't a competitor or anything, but you know, alhamdulillah, I was fairly, you know, decent, or whatever the case was. And now I had this pain, and now all these blue belts are lined up, and they're like, "Oh, I want a piece of him now. Oh, he's that brown belt. I don't know what's up with him, but he ain't that good anymore." You know, and it was a challenge. You know, it still is. Like now, I come here and I'm fighting you guys, man. You know, fresh off the, you know, mashallah, you guys are progressing so well that it's a challenge for the nafs, for the self every single time. So yeah, it's not without its challenges, but you know, I think people should look at progression differently and not look at it, you know, just in terms of time or how long does it take to do this, how long does it go with the journey. You know, I'm interested in you know the journey in the how and the when, you know.
Because sometimes when you get to the destination, then there's nothing in front of you to look forward to anymore. You're just looking back.
Or it's not what you expected.
Yeah.
You know, for some people it's like, you know, we talk about fitness. Oh, when I get to this XZ fitness, then I'll do this. Or when I get my blue belt, then I'll do that. And then when you actually get there, you're thinking, well, it's not what I thought it was, and I must just leave it. And this is, you know, one of my friends, he talks about it, he calls it blue beltitis. When you get your blue belt, you just become this kind of withdrawn individual that, okay, this was the biggest goal in my life. I got it now.
Yeah, that's it.
Now what do I do? But now I've got all these white belts hunting for me, and I'm not as fit as I once was, and I've got this full-time job, and you know, I'm getting married next month, and do we stop? And this is what's really interesting, is this kind of parallel way of looking at life, because that happens with us in our faith, our deen. That, you know, you may have this, you know, wonderful period. You've just gone for Umrah. You've just come out the month of Ramadan, and you're on that spiritual high where, alhamdulillah, I'm reading Quran every day, and I'm doing tahajjud, and I'm doing all this, and all of a sudden you just come back to reality, and bro, I got work now, man. You know, I mean, I can't get up at, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I can't. Will we leave our salah? Will we leave our prayer? Are we going to, you know, forsake Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is what ends up happening, and it's really sad to say, but it's just the way I feel of young Muslims now. They're just dabbling in things, and they don't last a day in anything, any endeavor.
It's the instant gratification, right? They're looking for things, they want to be gratified now. But social media has kind of tricked people into believing that this is, you know, this is how the journey is, right? But it's not really the case. People take years building up to something, and people want it in a week.
Exactly, you said it, bro. I think it's really, you know, what you just said, Hamza, is the very disease of today, of now. Is this now, you know, this instant gratification that we're all seeking, you know, and it's also this imagery that we're all exposed to now. You know, you got Snapchat, you got your Facebook, you got your Twitter, you got your Instagram. Everyone and anyone is just posting everything, and I'm saying, I think, you know, advice for myself first and foremost, and maybe to others, is remove yourself from that little. You know, I know it's hard. You got that smartphone, and you're on all these accounts and whatever, and you know, there's this thing, isn't there? FOMO, you know, fear of missing out. You know what I mean? Get over that. You know, really, you know, get over that. Just, you know, get some real friends. Not about Facebook friends. Real likes. People, you know, who you connect with. You know, and there's no place better than coming to somewhere like here, Black Belt MMA. Make some friends, or
it's like a proper like brotherhood. Like I see like jiu-jitsu and stuff as well. Like they have their own sort of like group. You know, like you know when what's that place where you set up in next to Staines?
ASCC.
Yeah. You got like a nice sort of like a brotherhood there as well. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that's what it is, bro. You know, it's that collective endeavor. You know, when you come together, it's like the prayer. Look at the Jummah. You know, like when you come together for Jummah, you know that feeling.
It's that beautiful feeling.
It's a beautiful feeling.
You're with your brothers, and
with everyone collectively worshipping your Lord. And it's almost the same when it comes to perhaps your training. You know, this is why, again, the kind of physical culture that we're exposed to. You know, I talk about bodybuilding, and you're there. It's a very selfish endeavor. So, you know, it's just me and how I look in the mirror. You're just looking at the mirror every single time. So just, you know, it's a very unsettling, shallow, sad reality for some people, you know. So I think, definitely, you know, that collective, when you come collectively, and you also acknowledge then not only people who help you, but then also the potential that you can help somebody
them,
else.
And I think that's a better feeling, you know, making a big impact or difference in someone else's life.
Definitely, man. I agree with that. Definitely, it's just really important that we all take a responsibility, our lion's share in giving back. You know, scholars say some of the, you know, and again, this is perhaps to, you know, we can talk to people, and I've had it in my own family, people who suffer with mental health conditions. You know, it's, you know, mental health is taking a battering. You know, in this COVID time we're living in, where people are very isolated and removed from close connections and friendships, is that a lot of these arts can help you realign any mental conditions that you're suffering with. Some of the best ways of overcoming depression is to help others.
Yeah.
Khidmah. You know, in Islam, this is just part and parcel of our deen.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's to help others. You know, and just to give back. You know, it's just
The feeling of helping someone else is not something that you can replicate easily. You're not going to get it anywhere else.
Anywhere.
Right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
helping someone knowing that there's nothing that they can do to repay you for.
Yeah,
help
I
that
mean,
you may have-
exactly. And
Or it's
then
nothing that you necessarily want back
want
from
back
them.
from
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know, it's just that complete state of shukr, that gratitude that you feel when someone's done you a favor or helped you in a way that you just can't thank them enough for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then likewise, you being that one individual that's helped them in a very specific thing, and it's not even a material thing. You know, like
Yeah.
a lot of brothers, oh bro, I'll drop you a 20, man. I'll drop you, you know, whatever you need. I'll get a car for you or
Yeah.
whatever. It's not that. It's something
a simple
else.
gesture, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, so it's this and this art. There's nothing better, you know, to.
And it's good to not let that get to your head as well. Like, oh, I'm helping all these people. I'm
Yeah.
the best. I'm this. Because then the ego is getting in the way of you progressing, right? Like as a person in whatever you're doing.
Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ told us, you know, actions are by their intentions. This is the first hadith in Al-Bukhari. And the Prophet ﷺ, you know, that, you know, some of the scholars would really ponder why that was the first hadith that Imam Bukhari would bring. And is that everything hinges off of your intention. Even, you know, like us being here, we're talking to each other. Inshallah ta'ala, you know, our intention should be refined and purified. That maybe we're doing it for some greater benefit other than the fact that we're standing in front of Imran's camera, you know, trying to, you guys look good. I don't know about me.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that you're doing kind of outside of the gym as well, right? Like, obviously you have your Oswa Jiu-Jitsu brand, but it's not just inside the gym. It's not just the gi and the grappling and the mats. There's other stuff that you do. Like Adam was talking about
The book you
there's the book, inshallah, that we're working on. There's, you know, we've done a few things, and again, it's, you know, we're grateful to Allah. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us, giving us the opportunity. You know, I shared this little, you know, anecdote just about what I tried to do once. You know, I remember just coming out of uni and, you know, just going into jobs and trying to do things, and I really wanted to help out in the masjid.
yeah.
And I was at my local mosque, and I said to myself, I'm going to do the most demeaning job there is. I just want to do something that maybe only I would know and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would
Yeah.
know. So I made this kind of internal decision that I would clean the toilets.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do something that was just, you know, really to break myself internally, but just do some khidmah sincerely for Allah.
Yeah.
And I said every week, I'd go for the Jummah, I said, yeah, today I want to do it, today I want to do it. So I'd do everything. I'd actually pack like cleaning products in my car, I'd do all this sort of stuff. But tawfiq, divine providence, Allah did not facilitate that for me. And I just kept wondering why. I was like, man, but I want to do it. I sincerely
Yeah.
wanted to do it. I was like, no, I want to go in there, I'm going to clean it out nicely. I want to sort of help out, lay the mats. I want to do, it just wouldn't happen for me. And then slowly Allah answers your prayer. You know, I actually asked Allah if I could do that. And, you know, and then slowly He answered my prayer, subhanahu wa ta'ala, by inshallah, trying to help people outside of Jiu-Jitsu, even within the training that I do. So, you know, we do retreat. So I'm involved with a Muslim organization in the north of England called Greensville Trust, headed up by Sheikh Ibrahim Osiyefa, Sheikh Harun Hanif, Hafizullah Ta'ala, Allah preserve him. They're very, very visionary scholars, and they would organize yearly retreats to Turkey, where we would attempt to revive the Sunnah arts, physical arts. Things like the wrestling, grappling, swimming, horse riding, archery, these type of things. So it's been very, very successful up until COVID. We were in our 6th year, you know, and every year we'd go to Turkey, phenomenal place, a beautiful setting, you know, with facilities that were unmatched, you know, 5-star, amazing. And you know, in as much as I was teaching on there, I took so much from it. It was almost like a spiritual retreat for me.
Yeah.
You know, I was teaching 3-4 classes a day, but it was such a beautiful experience in that how it realigned you with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I think it was very, very positive. And from that, you know, I just got off a call literally just now before we came into this podcast with a sister who, you know, again, single mother, she has a young son, you know, he's that challenging age, 14, 15, 16, you know, maybe losing his way a little bit. Oh, brother, you know, I saw you on that, you know, that YouTube, you went to Turkey and you did this. Oh, is there any way you can do some classes for him? Can you help him? And inshallah, you know, maybe this is something that Allah has, you know, looked upon us favorably and allowed us to help with in some small way. Yeah, there's the book. So alhamdulillah, in an attempt to highlight the centrality of grappling in the Islamic tradition, we had rendered a translation of Imam al-Suyuti's book on wrestling, Al-Musara ila al-Musara'a. He just collated, it's a booklet, you know, we talk about, it's a booklet really, 18 hadith on the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, Allah be pleased with them all, and how they would wrestle and grapple and why they would do that. So it's a small work on that, and inshallah that will be published soon. And it's just kind of, again, another step in the way of maybe reviving a generation to turn, instead of to football or to, which is fine, you know, I don't have anything against, you know, but a way of returning back to these traditional arts.
There's obviously benefits and wisdom behind all these things, right? So having that preparation, having that toolkit, right, that skill set, it's necessary not just for, you know, on the mats or in the gym, but for kind of like you were talking earlier, to be able to protect yourself and stuff. I'm sure maybe when you had kids or something that you wanted to put them into these things early.
With children, I think it's important to allow them to grow. A lot of people used to assume that, oh, your kids must be doing all the competitions and they, you know, no. I actually deter them from that. You know, competition is something maybe I think we talk about. But it's, you know, with young children, it's allowing them to grow, allowing them to find their bodies, also giving them confidence in who they are and what they become, because they're discovering a lot. You know, a lot of stuff's happening as they grow. And in as much as I'd love my kid to be, you know, getting medals and you know, it's the pride of any father. I think it's important not to push on them what you think is good for them or what you like. So, you know, like all the boxers want, you know, their kids to be boxers, and footballers want their kids to be footballers. That's fine, no problem with that. But I think you should also give them the space to see what they like, you know, and what they want to do. And I think it's important as well.
Definitely. Adam, was there any other questions you had for Ustadh regarding his jiu-jitsu and MMA career, or sorry, jiu-jitsu and MMA background, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what do you think about like religion and sports, combat sports? So like loads of people, like Muslims in general, they'll think that combat sports is haram or this or that. What do you have to say about that?
So I talk about this briefly in the book that we're authoring now, in how we view martial arts and combat. We cannot forget the centrality of combat in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. The companions were fighters through and through. They lived a life of great conflict, day in, day out. They were given to fighting. Hugh Kennedy has a book on the great Muslim conquests, and he talks about the army and he said the Muslims were given to combat. That's what he says, and you can't deny that. You can't. And what does combat mean then? You know, and it's not in the case of this ultimate combat, all-out war. But you can't be a soldier without having done some training, some understanding of what really, you know, combat is. So I think we should all understand that. Two, I think it's also important to think, and this is more to the ulama who are out there and maybe trying to understand martial arts, is that we have to contextualize what we understand about modern martial arts. I would agree, and who am I to disagree with the scholars of our ummah who say, you know, striking in the face is haram, disfiguring the body, mutilating the body unnecessarily. But there is also a question on the efficacy of a given martial art. Let's just put this into context and give you an example. If, say, someone says to you, actually, you know, I like Tai Chi because it's really, really good, really healthy for the body, the movement's good, and it's also self-defense, it's going to help me, you know, if I need to defend my family. And it's also halal because I'm not striking anyone in the face. There's an element of deception there, because you don't really then know what combat is.
Yeah.
The reality of combat, as you guys would appreciate, and many of the people who actually engage in reality combat, is that you are going to get punched in the face. You are going to get kicked. You are going to get hurt. It's not nice, and it's not, favorable, and it's not pretty. And this is what, if you look at history, Islamic history, you will find the Sahaba, they were cutting heads with swords. It's not some, don't punch to the face, brother. Astaghfirullah. Look at the early history of Islam. Look at the likes of the Prophet ﷺ. Look at the Sahaba through and through. In the book we talk about this very small biographies on different Sahaba and how they were. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala an, he was known for his combat. Sayyidina Hamza radiallahu ta'ala an, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, he would stand at the door defending the Prophet ﷺ, and said, when Sayyidina Umar came to profess his faith, Sayyidina Hamza said, if he's come for a ruckus, mate, we're going to take him out. And this is the reality of them, because they were men of combat, really, really powerfully strong, able warriors. You can't, and even the Sahabiyat. This is, there's so many examples of Sayyidina Safiya, Allah be pleased with her, the aunt of the Prophet ﷺ, Muhammad, at the Battle of the Trench, where she was there encamped with some Sahabas, other women, and the only men amongst them was Hassan bin Thabit radiallahu anh. And Hassan said, I'm only a poet. And she took a club and she killed a Jewish intruder. And this is a woman. You got the examples of Nusayba bin Ka'ab, Allah be pleased with her, and she was a Sahabi. She defended the Prophet ﷺ in battle. What do you make of that? How do you understand that? So this is how do you interpret that? So we must not miss that. Now, to balance the argument, I have complete agreement of understanding disfigurement and combat and striking in the face. They're very clear hadith, and I'm not a scholar, I'm not speaking from a scholarly perspective. All I'm asking is that we really contextualize and understand what then does it really mean to defend ourselves, because this is one of the maqasid, one of the maqsad, the objectives of religion, or rather, of sports in Islam that we talk about in the book, is that we would do, one of the reasons you would do a sport or martial art is to defend yourself.
So it comes down to intention then, right?
Intention, but also, what does that mean? If I become a florist, am I able to defend myself? If I'm, with respect to those who do Tai Chi or any of the Eastern martial arts, how effective is your martial art in allowing you to defend yourself? Because if that's the maqsad, if that is the objective of us as Muslims being able to defend ourselves, my argument then would be, well, actually, I want to do Muay Thai, I want to do Jiu-jitsu, I want to do wrestling, I want to do boxing.
And they need to be tested, right?
They have to be tested. How are you doing that? There's a mashallah really brilliant coach, Firas Zahabi. You may know of him. He's GSP's coach. And this is the argument that he makes, is that you don't know reality until you faced it. And to make this kind of wishy-washy argument that actually, it's all haram, bro, you can't strike in the face. The Sahaba were doing that without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Even with wrestling, you get a little shoulder in the face, a little knee to the head.
Clip the elbow. It's not, so this is, I think, this has to be squared and understood. So I guess my plea to the ulama is that let's look at the text again. Let's look at the, the objectives and why we're doing that. And like I said, to balance the argument, if you are just going out to the gym and just belligerently just smacking people, and I'm learning to just knock his head off, and then I'm
coming
just
with
punching,
like the good etiquette, that you want in
mannerisms, and that's my only intention, and I just want to just damage and hurt people.
I'll be the next Conor McGregor,
Yeah, if you've got that kind of if you've got that kind of an attitude, then I'd question then your intent for training martial arts.
Also, what would you say to like parents who sort of like, just say like a child who wants to go into combat sports, but their parents are pulling them back, saying no, you can't. It's gonna make you like this or that, or whatever excuses they bring out to them.
All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. This is an English saying. That some parents maybe of the persuasion that actually oh, but I don't do this.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you've got GCSEs coming up,
Yeah,
or I want you to just focus on your studies. There's no need to do all this
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And forgive me, you know, I'm from an Asian background, so I'm putting the accent on for a bit of humor. But I understand that, you know, even I'm a father. I understand, you know, the apprehensions people have, and it's really an apprehension that's embedded in a slight ignorance that they don't really know. You know, some parents don't know what it takes. They know it's combat, they know it's martial arts, and they just feel a bit uneasy about it. And that actually, maybe my child will get hurt or whatever. Some parents, sadly, they don't like it because they feel that it will detract from what they want for their child. I want my son to be a doctor. I want him to be a computer programmer. I want him to be an architect. So this is going to distract him from what I want him to be. So I'm not going to let him do it. Or you know, she's a girl. She don't need to do it, you know. She's just going to end up, you know, after her degree, or masters, or whatever she's doing, she's going to get married anyway. So she needs to be a good housewife. We need to remove that kind of mentality. It's such a sad reality for some people.
It's a cultural thing. It's not you won't find that in the Sunnah of the Prophet or in the religion where he imposed his will on his kids, or the Sahaba were imposing what they wanted for their kids, for example.
You know, this is what it means to really look deeply into our faith and our deen, and what does it tell us about, you know, look at these people, look at the companions, look at the people that lived with the Prophet ﷺ. Really look at it. Don't be selective about what you saw, what you read, and understand them for who they were.
Approaching with an open mind.
Open mind and a real mind. You know, I'm trying to uncover something as opposed to just find something. When you're trying to find something, it's like, that confirms
what you think.
You know, it confirms my suspicions or my view. Open, look at it, you know, and uncover. Just really, it's amazing. You know, this book has just really opened my eyes to a lot of, you know, what shocked me about the Prophet ﷺ in a beautiful way, in an amazing way. It was just awe-inspiring to read his example and to read about his companions and his family and all those that were around him. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Like there's one thing I read somewhere, which was if you want the same results as someone, or same results as someone else, then look at what they did and try and emulate what they did, and you might get the same results, but you're not gonna get the same results, or you're not gonna achieve a different result in your life doing the same thing that you've been doing, or the same thing that your parents have been doing, or whatever. So change is important. Change needs to be embraced.
Very much so, and especially in the modern context. I mean, like, you know, I'm assuming again, like. A lot of parents with my background, maybe they're the migrant parents, and they came from a certain context, they came from a certain background, and that's understandable as well. So I actually empathize with a lot of parents who have apprehensions about sending their children. But then we have now opportunities. You've got Noman Khalid here, Black Belt MMA, with all his instructors, all his experience, you know, helping the community. I'm serious about it. I really feel, I feel so passionate about the work that he's doing here, that, you know, I wish I could give him everything that I had, because, you know, alongside, who says it has to be, you know, this or that? Why can't we combine? You know, like you would, you know, in anything, you know, I want to do maths, I want to do English, I'll do tuition here, I'll do whatever. Why not physical?
Even like one day a week. It doesn't have to be, you know, fully commitment, like 4 sessions a week, or, you know, whatever, you know.
Whatever you can do, whatever. Allow them that balance. That's why, you know.
Balance is really important.
We are a balanced ummah, in everything that we do. So find that middle path with everything, you know, and inshallah, there'll be great benefit.
Like, for example, with combat sports as well, like, people have that thing where they think, oh, yeah, if they're going to go to an MMA club, they're gonna turn out like Conor McGregor, like with like negative sort of, you know, character. You know what I mean? Like, for example, like Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his companions, they were like proper, you know, solid on the battlefield, but one of the softest people as well. Like, you know, so I think that's very important as well. You know.
Maybe some advice for parents is to find those clubs, those places of training that imbibe humility, etiquette, adab, you know, we know this concept of adab, good character, good manners, and that for me is really important. You know, I've taken my children to a lot of places. I myself have gone to some places, and you know, the guy is effing and blinding, he's swearing, you know, they're encouraging negative behavior, you know, chauvinistic behavior. That's not a place you wouldn't send your children or you yourself.
Look at the coach, you know, look at the coach, you know, look at the students.
Absolutely, how they can conduct themselves, you know, what's important to them. Which is also why I feel quite strongly about the traditional arts, because they have that.
Of course.
That's very, very important. And you know, you can't deny that. You know, I was in Japan, a few years ago, and it was beautiful to see. You know, just how the respect that they showed their teacher, and then also the teacher would show the student.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
two-way
yeah.
street.
I think that's very good about I would say about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. Like they keep it, you know, they keep the traditions.
Definitely.
Like for example, when you say leave your ego at the door, you know, and then come in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's good to just come in and just, you know, just focus on your art and, you know, making new skills. You know what I mean? So like for example, when you're sparring and you're going 100%, you know, doing everything that you know you're good at, yeah, but you're not working on your weaknesses. Like for example, like for me, I would say working on my back. No, but you know what I mean, innit? Like you have to, you know, work on places where you think, you know, you're struggling, and you know, work from there.
Definitely.
But I think that we've had a nice long discussion with you, Ustadh. That there's a lot of things that you brought to light, which you know, opened my eyes as well. And I think a lot that we can learn from your experiences, and from the stuff that, like you said, obviously life is it's a journey, right? Like everyone goes through the same steps, but a little bit different, and our outcome will always be the same as well. Like we're all gonna go one place. So I think keeping in mind is like, what kind of image do you want to leave behind for the people that are around you? Do you want people to remember you in a nice way, or you want people to remember you in a bad way? Even if it's like, oh, you know, they're bringing up something that you did, but you don't want them to bring up the negatives in your life, right? So you want to have that positive impact around people. So especially to the young generation, because I feel like when I was in school, like every year, like say the year below me or the year below them and the year below them, it was always worse. They were always getting in more trouble. They were always doing something that we didn't think of, and it was kind of like a snowball effect. And now when I'm looking at the youngers like that, because obviously I've finished university now, I'm in the workplace or whatever, and it's all corporate, it's all professional, and then I go and I see kind of the 17, 16, 18-year-olds, and sometimes in the teen classes or whatever, and they're completely different, completely off the charts. Like they're doing stuff that I wouldn't even have thought about when I was their age. I think that's like that social media portraying that image to people that, oh, this is cool, this is the right way to go about things. You know, they've got the wrong idols. They're idolizing the wrong people, right? Like we live in a society where we're idolizing people on Instagram and on social media and celebrities. And 1400 years ago, they were idolizing rocks in a room. So, you know, there's not much of a difference there.
Definitely. I think it's important that we, you know, keep good company, reflect on who we take from as well, in terms of knowledge, in terms of our arts, whatever hobbies we may have. You know, again, we're trying to align ourselves so that everything that we do, inshallah, points us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, you know, it could be as mundane as, you know, how to, you know, put some tiles on a wall. You know, you don't go with a workman who's just negative and, you know, destructive, and he just wants to, you know, he's not clinical. He doesn't, you know, someone who's unknowledgeable about, you know, like a cowboy type character. You want to find the best people, the good people, and that's really important. Role models. And this whole concept of like regression, that's what we're finding in society now, is that people are just regressing to really the lowest aspects of their humanity. So when you look at school, you think, yeah, man, these kids are just doing even worse stuff. I can't even imagine the kind of stuff that you know they're getting up to. That's a regression of humanity. You know, we're just losing ourselves. So maybe, you know, places like here, Blackbeard MMA, the likes of Coach Numan and the other instructors here, there may be some light in that. You know, maybe sending your children here, maybe considering yourself to come here and
I definitely found that with myself coming to Blackbeard MMA, and I've been training here for a couple of years now, and it just helped keep me away from certain things, and it helped kind of open my mind to other things as well, and like help channel some energy, right? Because you know, guys were like a ball of energy, right? Like, you know, it's in our DNA.
Too much energy.
Yeah, some adults got too much energy, man. So it needs to be channeled, and it's going to get channeled one way or the other, right? And you'd rather it get channeled in a good way.
In the good,
thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure. It's really nice to see young people on the screen making a positive contribution to, you know, whatever else is out there. In YouTube and, you know, social media and whatever. This is really, really positive, and I hope, you know, the listeners, your viewers, you know, regularly tune in and listen to what you have to say. It's
Yeah.
really nice to speak to you.
Hopefully we can, get our, what do you call it, our reach a little bit more.
Inshallah.
The last two videos, they're kind of going down,
Yeah.
but we've got a special guest on this time,
Yeah.
so maybe.
Well, you guys are the special ones.
Yeah, and we'd like to thank our sponsors as well for this video, AWCI. Check them out on Instagram for all your commercial refurbishment needs. And yeah, thank you so much, Coach.
Yeah, shukran.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Cage closed.
Cage closed.
Oh man, that
Come
was
on,
good.
man. You gotta cut that
I
little bit
got,
out
I got
now.
excited there. Oh god, you do it now, innit? Cage closed.
Cage closed.